Every so often, an automotive manufacturer creates a masterpiece, a car that performs its intended purpose better than they could have ever imagined, a car that maintains relevance even years after the last one rolls off the production line. The BMW M5 has one mission, and that is to be the best. A car with 4 doors that can comfortably sit you and all of your unsuspecting passengers. A car that can sprint with the hypercars and supercars of its day. And a car that can comfortably sit at 200 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn without so much as a stutter from the engine. The BMW M5 is what happens when you have luxury car engineers design a car, but then they let the performance department dictate how it drives. This is a 2001 BMW M5. Chassis code E39. The E39 M5 is from BMW's so-called golden era of the early 2000s, kind of that last final breath of the mechanical sports car of the 20th century. The E39 M5 has all of the components to be a masterpiece. It performed its duty so amazingly back in the day. When it came out, it was the fastest sports sedan in 2000. And secondly, it's maintained relevance all of these years later. Take a look at any top 5 or top 10 BMW list from any reputable automotive journalist. The E39 M5 is going to be in every single one of them, if not at the top. So it begs the question, what makes this car so amazing? If we come up front, we have an almost 5-liter V8 producing almost 400 horsepower, which was enough to propel this car to 0 to 60 in just under 5 seconds and with a de-restricted top speed of 180 miles per hour. And perhaps most importantly, made an absolutely amazing sound. And if we come to the interior of this car, a 6-speed manual transmission was the only transmission available. And while its performance numbers may not be that impressive by modern standards, that's not really what made this car so special after the fact. The rest is something hard to quantify on paper. Take a look at this interior. Everything is simple, easy to read. It's all analog buttons. Everything is high quality and everything makes you want to interact with it. And it's timeless. My favorite example of this is the turn signal stalk. It makes the nicest click when using it. The BMW E39 M5's interior, and much like its exterior, is no frills. The theme of this car is understatement. See, the E39 M5 came from a time when BMW had nothing to prove. They were the best and it was simply understood. To anyone that doesn't know old BMW sports sedans, this thing looks like any other sedan at a glance in a parking lot to a non-car person. And that's part of the magic of this car. The lines are simple, clean, elegant. Frankly, it's just a nice looking car. E39 M5 driving experience can only be described as sublime. It has just the right amount of power, and it has just the right amount of driver's feedback to entertain the driver, but while still maintaining its stoic composure. Unlike, and between you and me, the hooligans doing donuts in BMW M3s. Now, the video could end here. I could get all of your clicks, views, watch time, and have a subjectively, and dare I even say objectively correct opinion. But there's one other car that I think arguably might be even more of a masterpiece than the all-beloved E39 M5. This is a 2021 BMW M5, chassis code F90. It has large headlights and front air ducts that look like they want to swallow the ocean. This car symbolizes what a lot of people would say is everything wrong with new cars. Gone are the days of analog gauges and little LCD displays. In their place are these large screens and more screens. The F90 M5 has approximately 10 to 20 billion settings that you can modify. Right now I'm staring at a screen that is asking me how long I would like the lights to stay on after the car is off. Gone are the days of simple, elegant interiors that only gave the drivers what they needed. In an effort to make this car more refined and an overall better car, they had to remove a lot of that driver's feedback and a lot of that input in an effort to make a more refined and a better driving experience on paper. The biggest letdown is definitely the turn signal. To its credit, it's not as bad as the E60 era and that mid-2000s self-centering garbage. They finally returned to form with the regular turn signal stock, but it still doesn't quite have the feedback of the E39s. And it gets worse. In place of a strong exhaust note like the E39s, we have a quiet exhaust and piped in sound to the interior. Hardly elegant or desirable. Ignoring how beautiful this engine behind me looks, BMW even had the audacity to put a smaller V8 engine in here with only 4.4 liters instead of the E39's almost 5. But there's one thing we've been, say, overlooking when talking about the F90 M5. This M5 may have a smaller, merely 4.4 liter V8, but with the assistance of turbochargers, it makes a staggering 600 horsepower, a 50% increase over the E39 M5. And with an 8-speed automatic transmission and a very complicated all-wheel drive system, this M5 will do 0 to 60 in just under 3 seconds. The burning question in the back of everyone's mind is, how is this any better than the M5 that followed it, the G90? See, the newest M5 has the same turbocharged 4.4 liter V8, but now producing 700 horsepower with the assistance of a hybrid motor assembly. As great as the G90 M5 sounds on paper, unfortunately, there are a lot of pitfalls to a lot of enthusiasts. For starters, in the interior, they got rid of every button that we had left and instead replaced them with little screens. See, while this interior has a lot of screens, it still has a lot of buttons, and they put a lot of buttons and other little screens in places where it'd be convenient for the driver to see information that they're going to want to see all the time, like climate control, fan speed, and that sort of thing. Secondly, despite the G90 making over 700 horsepower, it is no faster than this M5. See, this M5 is heavy. It weighs about 4,300 pounds. But take a guess as to what the G90 M5 weighs. Unfortunately, that is not correct. It weighs approximately 43 billion pounds, which is approximately 43 billion pounds heavier than this M5. And because of that, not only is it not faster than this M5, but it also gets no better fuel economy and is even more complicated because it has more things to break that are doing nothing for the overall benefit of the car. And the other pitfall with the G90 that a lot of people are going to have and do have is the styling. Now, look, hang on here with me for a second. I'm not a hater like most people are of the newest version of any car. Look, we always grow to like it 10 years down the line. It's just how it goes. But if you compare the G90 and F90 M5 side by side, the F90 is an objectively cleaner design and follows more traditional BMW styling language. The F90 M5 may be larger than the E39 M5 that we all lust after, but if you take a look at the dimensions and even the weight figure of this car, it's about the same size and not that much heavier than the E38 7 Series, also from BMW's beloved golden era, when it was being produced at the same time as the E39 M5. The F90 M5 sort of falls into a sweet spot, if you will. It's the fastest with the most amount of tech and the least amount of redundancies. So the best really becomes a toss-up. On the one hand, you have the golden child, everybody's favorite. It's styled classically, and it has something that everybody can like. Frankly, when you're behind the wheel of an E39 M5, you just start smiling. That's just everyone's natural reaction, unless you're an insane person, in which case, you don't deserve an E39 M5 anyway. I really want one. And on the other hand, you have the best M5 to ever exist on paper, for all the aforementioned reasons we just listed. Really, we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean for a car to be an M5? Regardless of anyone's preconceived notions or opinions, both of these cars have one thing in common. They were the end of an era. The E39 M5 was the last analog sports car in the BMW M5 lineup, whereas the F90 M5 found the sweet spot of perfection. I'll leave you with this. I think both of these cars are equally masterpieces. One is not simply better than the other. They're just different, completely different driving experiences that, while they technically share the same name, have really not much else in common with each other. And the best solution is do what the owner did and have both.